Hello, I Sing family. It's your girl Denosh, and I'm here again with another issue episode of The Working Singer, featuring Sharlotte Gibson. She's an amazing, accomplished singer with 20-some odd years in the industry. She's sung for everybody. Just say a name, she's done something with them. And I'm finally grateful to actually sing on stage with her. I've danced on the same stage with her. We've been in the studio together. What else? We danced and sung together.
And it was always about Whitney.
It was all, gosh, she's like a recurring theme, but we'll get back to that a little bit later. We're going to, we're actually in the process of getting ready for our show. We're backstage at the Booker T. Jones Stax Review show.
And we have so much time.
And Anthony's in the corner, isn't he? Say hi, Anthony. Well, today's all about Charlotte, as much as we love Anthony. You're gonna meet him later. But we're backstage right now at the Aspen Something Festival doing a show with Booker T. Jones, and we're getting ready, as ladies do. So we're gonna just chat with Charlotte while she finishes primping and propering and getting ready for the show. So this is Sharlotte Gibson. She has, I'm gonna let her blow up her own spot. But where are you from originally, Charlotte?
Oh, New Orleans is the city of my blood.
Oh, so did you grow up with that type of music? Like that
second lines, parades, funeral parades, party parades.
All kinds of parades.
Barbecue parades, gumbo parades. Dun, dun, yeah, and then booty swinging around.
It looks like such a good time.
Oh, it was a good time. Even when it was a funeral.
And your mother was a singer too, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, my mom was one of the first black women to sing in the French Quarter.
Wow.
I don't remember the name of the place, and I'm going to need to know that for my own personal
story for your life. Well, yes. Now would be a good time to share that kind of thing.
Hey, Mom.
So we'll double back. We'll share that information at another time, y'all. So you're from there. Your mother, did she teach you how to sing? Was she your first?
Indirectly, she taught me how to sing just by always singing around me. My parents, my brothers, they were always singing around me.
Oh, so you come from, everyone sings in your family?
Well, the only one who was singing professionally was my mom.
Okay.
At first. And then, my dad was just always singing along with the radio. Like, we always had music in the car. We always had music in the house. We had records and a record player and my dad liked comedy records, so we actually had a lot of Bill Cosby records. And
I love those. I had the cassettes, but those were great. Those are great.
Yeah, Dad called the stereo a hi-fi.
Yes, that's what it is. We're back to that now. Hi-fi. I got a little hi-fi set up. Super into vinyl.
So he used to sing along with everything, and Mom was always playing like Earth, Wind & Fire, but then she played the Beatles, and she played Barbra Streisand, Neil Diamond, Gladys Knight. And she's like, ooh, Leontine Price, you need to know her.
Wow.
You need to know Marian Anderson. And she loved Pavarotti.
She schooled you. It's interesting.
Just at home. I was homeschooled.
One of the things that I love so much about you and your career is the diversity. And the fact that people would probably look at you and go, oh, you probably, or know you from a certain gig and think that's all you do, but you've had such quite a history that I want to get into, that we will get into. Well, how old were you when you first started singing? Can you remember?
Right. Remember back that far?
No, that's not what I meant.
The year was 1913. I was 4.
I remember when.
Oh Lord, yeah. It was 137 years ago.
Yay! How old were you when you started?
I think I could pretty much do it as soon as I started talking.
2, 3
to people.
Oh, okay. You're an introvert.
I talked to people, and suddenly when there was music, I would sing to those people. We learned songs in like kindergarten, first grade. I don't know if I was always good because I never thought about what good was.
Did you get the solos, and was your mommy like, oh, you got to hear my baby sing? Was she like
no,
that?
My mom wasn't like that.
Okay.
My mom wasn't like that until I was like 15-ish.
Okay. Was she
14, 15. We were going to a church that had a gospel youth choir. We had a youth choir. And I got to sing there in the musical, the minister of music there. And we just, kind of fell in love with one another and in a clean way.
Careful now.
Yeah, I know. He didn't touch me. But But he liked to have me sing certain songs. You know? He did a lot of stuff from the Hawkins family.
Okay.
And he was like, if there was always like a soft, pretty voice, he always liked to hear me do that. And he loved to make me sing higher than I felt comfortable singing.
Is that why now you're like, oh, go ahead, take the top, because you had enough of it?
Because people throw me up there, Kenya and Sai.
I feel like you just, you know, because I'm an alto, at least that's what I grew up always singing, so I just feel like the other singer has to be above me, and I guess because you've done so many different parts. I mean, you've sung everything, and again, we're gonna get into all of that, but it wouldn't be that it wouldn't be an issue for you. So would you say that you know, singing around the house, having your mom sort of put you on, you know, teach you about different singers and different styles, and singing in this church choir, that was sort of your formal training? Did you have any other training?
Looking back, I would say that.
Yeah.
And then eventually, she did take me to lessons. She had a teacher. She had a voice teacher because she was gigging locally at just different clubs and lounges. You know, my mom was a lounge singer, and I didn't know what that was back then. It was just I was going to see mommy sing, and she would sing songs really of all kinds. Like I would see mom. I would hear her sing "Trees" by Joan Baez. Now, when I was a little girl, I'd never heard that song before, obviously, and I thought my mom wrote it. And there were a lot of songs that she sang. She used to sing Joni Mitchell stuff, and I thought she wrote it because I didn't hear it anywhere else until maybe I heard it on the radio later. You know, she would sing Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson, and she would sing just a wide. She did a lot of folk.
Oh, wow. So she would have people over.
She'd have people over, and then we'd all end up singing. And then the Christmas, obviously, that was the biggest pot of gumbo. And then there would be Christmas songs all night. And I know a lot of families do Christmas on Christmas Eve, but we never did that. We always like to wake up on Christmas, open our presents, and then do the big dinner. And then after dinner,
would be the sing-along.
We'd open more presents if people came by with presents, and we would just sing. You know, everything. When
did you go professional? I mean, you said about 15, your mom started putting you in front of people.
That was because I was singing in the choir at church, and so you know, if people came over for dinner, because my mom cooked a lot, like I like to do.
You're very fortunate. I mean, I'm from Toronto. I know so many people have come from. You know, Anthony's from, you know, Chicago, and so many people move to LA. You were lucky to be raised in that. I'm sure that was a very good
outside of LA.
Okay, but you were at least close to where we all are now migrating to be a part of the industry and to work and to do all this. I would venture to say, well, so what was your first professional gig then? Since you were already in LA, you'd already been singing. How did you kind of break into the business?
When I was around 17-ish, there were some guys in town that had me. Singing in their studio, and they were just around the corner, and I can't remember if I was paid.
Were you living in LA at this time, or were you still outside?
No, I was still at my parents' in Sacramento.
So like studio recording.
I would, just sort of like maybe demo stuff or just some oohs and ahs, and it was just a fun thing, and there wasn't really a lot of money. But
did you find it hard to find your footing? Were you at that point like, I want to do this professionally? I
hadn't thought about it because I was always, I don't know if it was, well actually at this point I'm probably sure it's based on my mom not, you know, making it huge. But there was a point where she decided, you know, she would go to Hollywood and she would record in studios in LA, and she would go sing at parties with Howard Cosell and James Earl Jones. Like, she would tell me, Red Fox at this party, and there's a picture she had on the wall at the house where she was sitting on Red Fox's lap, which, you know, knowing what a dirty bird he was,
you like,
I didn't know to be alarmed back then. I'm sure my dad was cool with it. No, but she used to go out there and do a lot of stuff, and with her not hitting it huge, I think there became this need to enforce that I have something to fall back on.
What was that?
Just something to fall back on, so that I wasn't relying on music.
Okay.
They just said, you just need to have something else, you know, based on.
What did you think about that? Were you like, okay, well, mom didn't make it, but I'm going to make it? Or
not then, not when I was a teenager. I just was like, well, I got hit by a car. I had a physical therapy session that went on for quite a while to get me well. And I found it fascinating that you could help heal people without drugs, you know, and I ended up not having to have a surgery. So I thought first, okay, I want to be a physical therapist. I got hit by a senior my freshman year of high school. I just got there.
Wow.
And so one of the first things I thought I wanted to do was be a physical therapist. And then a year later or two, I met an interior designer, and I thought, ooh, I want to do that.
How'd you get back to singing?
I was always singing through all of it. It's
Okay.
just that everyone was telling me while I was singing in the choir at school, well, you know, I got the lead in the high school Christmas thing, and
things just started to happen for you.
and I would audition for these plays at something called Junior University, which, if I'm not mistaken, still goes on in San Bernardino. They do plays every summer. We don't get paid. It's just something for us to do. We put on makeup.
Which is important because you
We
need to
dance
get
around.
that experience. And
We have stage experience, great stage experience
Absolutely.
with a great crew and cast, and you go through the audition process. And it was something that I watched my brothers do when, you know, at the same time that I was watching my mom sing. So,
what was your first professional gig? Like your first big gig?
After all of that, going past the studios and stuff, my first, I started doing a lot of demos, and it led to me auditioning for Brandy, and she was going on tour with Boys to Men. Well, she probably, it was like Boys to Men and Babyface and Brandy. And I got that audition, and
You mean you sang? Did you actually, was it a live audition, or did they just go take from your demos? That
no,
you've
I
done?
got a call from a guy who owed me money from a demo. You
He's
still
like, well,
owe
I
me
can't
that
pay you, but I
money.
can maybe put you
No,
on
he
the
could pay
Brandy
me. He
gig.
just won't.
Oh.
But Bruce, and it's okay. He
Bruce,
knows.
if you're out there.
Yeah, no, he's out there.
Okay.
He knows. Give my money. I want my money, Bruce. No.
Wait, I think I know what you're talking about.
Huh?
Anyway, continue.
It's okay. He'll know. But it's cool. He said if you can get out here by 7:45 or whatever it was, he's like, you can audition for Brandy. And I called my mom and I was like, I'm going to get a job. And I was at a job. I was at my day job, getting off work at 6. And I was like, okay, well, I was going to go visit my mom because I just moved to LA 10 days before I got that call. I hadn't finished putting my stuff in the condo.
I was actually fortunate. My second tour, yes, was with Brandy. I was dancing. You weren't on it though. You'd moved on to.
I probably got already fired. I was fired by her mom 6 months later. But we were fine.
Right.
You know, we made nice.
Right.
But,
And that was a major tour.
That was a major tour. That was January when I auditioned, and we were gone in February, and then random fact, we learned that Eazy-E passed away in March while we were on that tour.
Wow.
But yeah, that tour ended in June, and then we had some spot dates, and someone upset someone and was let go. And then 6 months later, I was back, but yeah.
How'd you pick up the pieces? Did you just go back and were you just going back to vocal demos, or you just did you make call? Like, how do you?
Well, this is
so many people, you know, like even if you don't get fired, your tour ends and you're like, all
now
right,
what?
So exactly now
so
what?
This was my first lesson in now what.
Right.
You have to, when you go away and you're gone for months and people don't remember that you come home, you have to make calls. I naturally did it. I didn't really even think it through. I was like, well, I'm home. I need to tell people I'm home. Because the rate of pay.
At that time.
The rate of pay at that time, I was on a bus somewhere thinking, wow, if I make this much money for a demo, if I do 2 or 3 demos a week, even just 2, I'd be making what I was making a week on that tour.
Right.
So for the money, it didn't entirely make sense. So if I do 3 demos a week, I could make this pay per week, my weekly salary plus the per diem.
Right.
But what I can look back at is the construct, you know, the plan God had. Like, I met Cornelius Mims, who was Brandy's musical director, who introduced me to Paul Jackson Jr., who introduced me to Rickey Minor, like 2 years later.
Right.
So, you know,
such
everything was as it should have been.
Yeah.
And even though I was on the bus sitting there like, hey, wait a minute, you know, and yeah, and then with things ending the way they did, and then Cornelius ended up calling me 6 months later. Hey, I got this gig, and he told me all, you know, where to be and what time, and who, the place to you know, what to wear, just everything. And I was like, who is it? He didn't tell me that, and then he's like, "It's Brandy. Can you do it?" And I was like, "I love Brandy. I'll go. I love Brandy. I never stopped loving her.
Right.
You know,
she's amazing.
Yeah, I'll never stop loving her, and she's as good as she was at 15 years old.
Yeah,
she's grown and great.
I remember being a fan. I mean, just someone so young and so talented, and then getting the opportunity to dance for her. And I actually didn't have to audition. I was working with Lorianne, who was a choreographer at the time. And she just brought me in to the gig, and I had to fly to LA, and we all slept in Lorianne's room. And
what year was that?
This was 99.
Okay,
98.
Travis Payne was working with her and Swoop and those guys.
Yes,
and that was when I met.
So it was right after them. So Punch and Goof stayed on, and then it was me, and then like Lorianne came in and brought a couple new dancers, and I just remember being in awe. Like every song, I was just like, wow. And I was like, you sing live like that. It was such an incredible experience to be a fan. And I remember wanting, at the time, because I was singing, but no one really knew me as a singer. And I wanted so badly, and I was bugging the background singers. I was just like, I wish you were there for me to bug. But we do that later. No, I know. But it was so important for me as well to like network with the background singers and, you know, let them know what I was doing and just kind of pick their brain. I was like, listening to these harmonies and going, and then seeing them come to life. Yeah, it was a great experience. I want to find out, I mean, and again, we're going to get into all the names, but who inspires you as a singer? Now, you grew up on so many amazing artists.
I've always been a huge fan of Paul McCartney, David Bowie, Stevie Wonder, Maurice White by default because Mom was constantly playing Earth, Wind & Fire
right.
And it was funky, you know, I mean, and reasons that we're here. Yeah. So Philip Bailey.
You know when I first heard it, I didn't know that was a man. I didn't know it was a man.
Well, I didn't think about it so much. You know, you hear all these high voices, but but the stuff that my parents played, there was always a dude with a high voice.
Right. Yeah. At that time, there was a lot of that going. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there was always a dude, and then the stuff that they used to like play in the house all the time, like. Until my brother started playing Rick James and Cameo and all that stuff, you know, that's a different thing. But yeah, there's always a dude with a high voice. Even my dad used to like, Frankie Valli, like, you know. Okay.
Well, I missed you. Like I said, our paths did not connect on Brandy, but where they did connect was in '99 for me with one of the only artists that really caused me to sing. I didn't come from such a musical family, but I remember. The first voice that I heard, and I've told this story, I feel like it was on the radio, or maybe it was my dad playing, but it was Whitney Houston. And
what was the first song? What was your first song that you heard?
I think it was You Give Good Love. It was just at the top of the album. I found out what I've been missing. It was either that or... No, it was that. That was the first one.
The first song I heard with her voice was the duet with Teddy Pendergrass.
Oh!
And I have chills right now.
Oh,
look at my arms.
Such a good one. I can see them. That album, first of all.
But her voice was just
everything.
Pretty.
And present. And strong.
And my mom had the album Life is a Song Worth Singing. Not to say that I was influenced necessarily.
So wait, was that on Teddy's album?
I'm sure it was.
Oh,
it had to
okay.
be. I don't think it was on that album, but my mom used to play that album all the time.
Right.
Like, well, won't get much better, no.
Yeah.
If you just let it be, let it be. And turn them off. Turn them on. Come here, woman. So yeah, we got a little bit of Teddy Pendergrass, but I heard that duet and I thought her voice was so amazing, and then I kind of didn't hear from her again, and then I heard that You Give Good Love, and the records were coming to the house, you know, like everybody had the records. And at that point is when Mom was like putting me in front of people like, oh, my baby, sing. She sounds just like her. I don't really sound just like her. But
how did your path cross?
Well, so back to the now what's when you get off tour, you've been gone a long time, you've been gone, you know, far away. Then you have to make calls and say, hey, I'm home. And then people say, oh, you're back in town? Okay, come sing on this demo. Oh, come back and, okay, well, come do this or come, you know, ooh-ah this or demo this or whatever. So in the course of doing that, and then having somebody like Cornelius around, come to the studio, meet my friend, come to the studio, meet my friend Paul Jackson Jr., and he wanted me to do some demos, and he will never not tell this story about how when he called me and wanted me to come sing on something. And I didn't know who Paul Jackson Jr. was. Okay, Corny was cool.
Fair enough.
I'm, you know, trying to move to LA, but I don't live here yet.
Right.
And I don't know the cats. You know, I would sometimes be out in LA and I would tell somebody I'm a singer, and they're like, oh, who'd you sing with? And I'd be like, nobody now. And they'd be gone.
Right.
They just cut my ass off. And just, oh, well, I have no time for you.
Right.
And that was the end of it. So when I couldn't give him a name, it was like, oh, this is frustrating. So I didn't know who Paul was. So Corny says, come sing with this guy. And Paul got my number and he called me and said, hey, are you available on Saturday? And I guess generally in the town, it means that you should say yes. Yeah. But I had plans with my boyfriend to go to the beach. So I didn't make it that Saturday, and because Paul was very forgiving. And I ended up singing on some stuff with him, and then later on, Campbell. And I came back from tour, and then I had another big now what, like trying to make calls. Every time like I left for the Dad's Band, I call, hey, I'm back, you know. I spent sometimes 2 or 3 weeks calling people to let them know that I'm back. Absolutely. And then
you should have people to call, which is great.
Which is great. I just, whoever they were, I would just call them. Yeah. And then I'd leave again with Barry White, and I'd come back and make the calls. And I spoke with Paul, and I just let him know, hey, this is, you know, whatever, this is what's going on. Christmas at the end of the year, it was 95 when I started working with Brandy. Cornelius had turned me on to the Death Row camp, so I was doing a lot of demos in Death Row, and in between that, you know, occasionally just sing on something with Snoop or sing on something with Tupac, but not that often. Most of the time it was Jewel or just other artists that were signed to Death Row, and I'd be there a lot. But at this point, it was a year later, and I was like, okay, I need to do more. So I called all these people, and a couple months later, it was like the end of 96 when I made this call to Daryl and to Paul and all these people. And early in 97, I was doing demos and trying to write, and there was this machine called an ADAT machine.
Oh, yes you did.
Yes, I did. I did that. So I was trying to record stuff that I was writing with these producers around town. And it was the hardest thing to get a 24-track ADAT. And you know, you call this one, I want to put the vocal down for this track you gave me. And oh, it's a bad week this month. And like everybody, it was like all over the place. I'm like, okay, I need to get this down. So the phone rings. I had a couple of friends over because we were just talking about how frustrated we were. And I picked up the phone and I said, whoever you are, please tell me that you have a 24-track ADAT that you want to let me use for free. I didn't give the person even a chance to say hello, greet. I was, because we were
Charlotte
we were, you know, it was just like, if we're talking about something and the phone rings, I'm still on this page. Yeah. You know, so that's where I was. And there was a pregnant pause. And then, hello, my name is Rickey Minor, and I'm calling to see if you would like to audition for Whitney Houston. Now, I'd never heard of Rickey Minor either, any more than I heard of Paul Jackson Jr.
That's crazy.
So I was waiting for the joke.
One of his, like,
roles,
of course.
You know, little did I know I would fall in love with him later, too. But I didn't know who Rickey was, and I was waiting for someone to go, gotcha! You ain't auditioning for Whitney! But that didn't happen. He was like, be at this place at this time.
Where was the audition?
At Center Staging.
Okay.
So I often trip out when I walk into the room where Brandy's mom fired me is exactly the room where I auditioned for Whitney Houston.
Wow.
How about that?
And you sang and blew her away. Was she there?
No, she was
not there. You auditioned for Rickey.
I auditioned for Rickey, and he told me what to learn. He told me the songs he wanted me to learn. And I'm sure that, as you know, when people historically ask you to audition, they want to hear you sing lead.
Right.
But you're going to end up singing background.
Right. It's always tricky because you're like, okay, how much am I supposed to sing and sound like the artist? But then do I want to do too much? You want to sing enough to impress that person, but then you're like...
Back in the day, I didn't need to sound like that person until Brandy.
Right.
I would audition for stuff and not have to sound like the person. They just needed to hear...
So did you just sing
your tone,
you
ability to be in key?
You sang the stuff he gave you.
Well,
in
on
your
his phone call, well, I was backtracking on other auditions where I just want you to hear my voice and my tone and my ability to be on key or not or whatever it is that you need to hear. But when Rickey called, he said, learn these songs, and he specified that she's looking for someone that has her sound. And I was like, well, that helped me with Brandy. You know, I was able to do that with Brandy because we blended amazingly. And he said, oh, why? Because you sound like Brandy? I said, well, no, I'm saying I could sound like Whitney if you need me to.
Right.
And he's like, okay, well, these 5 songs and this place and this time. And he just said the song titles. So I was still in that mode of you have to learn lead. So I went, whatever album of hers I didn't have, I went and got it. And I learned all the leads. Only to get there.
Remix!
And remix, girl. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't go in the first group because he was like, he had several groups of 4 women blocked off or 3 or whatever it was. And he asked me if I wanted to go first. I was like, no. And I'm so glad. And then I heard them singing background parts.
Oh, so then you quickly
all these people learned the backgrounds to all the songs I learned the leads to. And I was like, okay, calm down.
It's going to be okay.
Daddy prayed with you.
Right.
And I let a couple go by, and then when he finally looked at me like, you ready? I was like, yeah. And I heard the things where he was correcting people, and I just kind of got a keen ear and took those notes and applied them as soon as I stood up. And thank God they were all easy choruses, like Dance with Somebody and Step by Step. And,
How did he tell you that you got the gig?
He pulled me aside later and he said, if nobody blows my mind in the next hour, you got the gig.
Okay, so I think I met you, it was 90, I met you in 90, no, I met you in 2000.
At the Grammys.
At the Grammys. And I don't even know what I was doing. I was in New York, but I knew her dancers, Marilyn and Carolyn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys,
and did you know
Binky? Then Binky had to go do something. And y'all had been on tour, and then there was a pause for the Grammys, and so myself and Leslie came in, and I was just like, ah.
Is that Big Les? Is that the one?
Not Big Les, no.
Okay.
Short, not short, but light-skinned Guyanese girl, really pretty. Then, so we both came in from New York, and I remember, it was such a cute gig. We flew in, the pay was right, the per diems were,
Isn't it
double.
Great?
Who were you guys sponsored by? Was it Versace?
Dolce and Gabbana.
Dolce and Gabbana.
Dolce.
Dolce.
I'm going to say Dolce. And I'm not trying to offend them, but they didn't make clothes for girls my size. So Dolce.
But I remember they outfitted us in because that's who she was sponsored with. We got to take stuff home. Anyway, but I was dancing at the time, and I remember walking into the rehearsal room, or I remember being in the rehearsal room, and then you came in with Whitney, and I remember y'all just kind of sang a little bit, and I was just in it was my very first time laying eyes on someone who was my childhood and still is superhero vocal queen, whatever. There's just so many. There's not enough, and there's so much, but that's where we met. And you were a mess, a hot, funny, silly, amazing singing. And it was such a good group of people. It was so nice to be welcomed, not being a regular on the gig, but being part of the gig. And then I wasn't even a singer. It was just, you were being Charlotte. And who else was singing at the time?
Cindy Mizell and Valerie.
And Val, that's right.
And probably her brother was there.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, and was
Patty there? No, not in 2000.
And we did, it's not right. But it's so cute. Oh, no, it was amazing. It was my first and only.
That was the first song I sang backups on a record with her.
Oh, did you? Are you on the record?
I'm on that record. I need a plaque.
That. Oh, you better call the label.
I need a plaque.
You do need a
5.
plaque.
Sleeping man.
I know that gig is just so close to your heart, and I mean, obviously, in the
family and the love.
light of the tragedy that happened with her and how close you were to that gig. What do you think one of the? Well, actually, I want to ask you maybe one of your favorite moments.
Wow.
So many, too many. What do you feel like as a singer she taught you that you take away from that?
Wait, I want to recap on at least 2 of those favorite moments. Maybe 3. We were doing backgrounds together on one of those days. And there was something that I was singing that wasn't lining up with the way she was singing it. And she looked at me and said, Charlotte, say the words, baby. Say the words. And whenever I have coached anyone since that day, I have told them the same thing that she told me because I immediately heard the difference.
What do you mean?
What I mean was the intonation changed by the way we pronounce things or didn't pronounce things.
Right.
And when I pronounced the things, I suddenly was right on the beam with her.
Wow.
And we put stuff down like that sometimes, and it was like, oh yeah, we just killed that. You guys don't need a double, do you?
Would you say that working with her was probably like one of the highlights of your
career? Entirely, yes. Yeah. It's the only person I would have, where I could, go to work for somebody and then turn around and go, oh God, where did 15 years go?
Wow.
Besides Rickey, I mean, my time and talent to anyone else, I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
When, you mentioned something before about, having to, you did a lot of demos, and with all the different work you did, the different artists you sung for, I mean, you have to be quite versatile. There's a couple of words that I want to throw out there: versatile, adaptable, pliable, diverse, talented. You've been on stage with everybody, and I would say you already had some sort of intuition that allowed you to be. But just for the sake of sharing, can you just drop a few more names for us?
Like different
artists that you've worked for, yeah. I just want people to know, the incredible talent that you had, that you have.
I had the pleasure of working with Ricky Martin a couple times. Reba McEntire, I love her. 9 Inch Nails, obviously.
Queen Latifah.
When I thought, Queen Latifah and 9 Inch Nails. I will say this: when I thought no one would ever treat me as well as Whitney. 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor. Whitney, I was just always watching.
Right.
I know her body language. I had sung with her enough to want to move with her and do, things back with her, and I know she welcomed that. There's play, like certain artists want you to play off of them.
Yeah.
Trent had more of a map, but then when he was like, okay, check it out, do what you want to do here. And Queen Latifah, the same. Like, she's always down to just see what happens.
Right.
She's fearless. She'll try anything. She's approachable. She's congenial. She's super talented. And she also is very, you don't see her going off and talking to people wrong or funny.
Level-headed.
Like, she proves that you can stay who you are, and you can do an amazing job, and you can do well, and survive. You can fly, you can succeed, you can exceed. And
well, just not to cut you off, but you've mentioned throughout this entire time of talking, like you've talked about, you said Tevin Campbell, you said you were doing death row stuff for a while, artists. I mean, you've covered, there's nobody you haven't sung for, or at least there's not one stuff. Well, yes, I mean, you can't split yourself, and I'm sure people would happily have you clone yourself. I would too. But
as long as one of us gets some sleep,
then you're all right. Amen. But you really have, hip hop, R&B, soul, blues, country, jazz infusion, rock. I mean, we're here with Booker T.
Sang with Patty Austin for a long time.
Patty Austin. Natalie, you were just singing with Christina Aguilera. Yeah. I mean, is there something that you can't... I'm just kidding. No. Would you say... Yes. I talk about diversity, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you and have you share your stories, is because I feel like I said, innately you are just gifted. But you have been able to transcend all these different genres and make this transition. And I think that's a huge... Do you want help with that? a huge, you got it, component to being able to continue to work and have the career that you have. Would you agree with that? You didn't hear that.
What?
You're so versatile and diverse. You sung for everybody. Do you think that that's a key to your success and longevity in the business? Other than being good and funny and a beautiful spirit.
There is that whole thing, the who you know.
And your hair looks great, by the way, today.
That's all I put my hair down.
It's done a thing.
I know, it's kind of morphed into a few different people. I really do give the credit to God, and I know some people. First of all, yes, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. And, like that person at the Grammys. I just want to poke out first and say thank you, but I really have looked back at a plan that I didn't make.
Yeah,
and I have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So, I from mom playing all the different records to meeting all the different people, the way that I love people, the way that I love music. And after everyone said, you gotta have something to fall back on, and I was starting to dread chemistry and anatomy, but then I was like, no, I want to know all these Latin names. I'm gonna do it. I want to know all the muscle groups so I can, be a physical therapist. No, it was gonna be fine, I thought. Yeah. But there was never going to be a time when I didn't love music, and there was never going to be a time when I wasn't singing.
Right. Wait, I wanna ask you a couple more questions because we have to wrap. We got a show to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like 8:30 almost.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I want to ask you quickly, and then we may have to pick this up. I was listening to your playlist. Actually, no. You know what? I'll skip this question and come back, and maybe I'll ask you this later.
Well, I was just gonna say I credit most of it to God, but to my mother feeding me a wide variety of music and me taking it in and having a wide taste in music. I love so much of it. I related with all of it, and I could sing with all of it without thinking about it.
But how would you advise other singers based on your experience, based on the fact that you came from a musical family, someone who doesn't? You lived in LA or close to.
Open up
who don't.
And listen to things that you would never. Now we have,
but you
all
listen
kinds
with a
of
certain ear. Like I find that when I'm coaching or teaching people,
I
feel like I'm pointing out things that are obvious to me that aren't obvious to some
when I was a kid, I wasn't really thinking that I was going to be a singer. I was just listening to music and loving it for what it was and just letting it come in. So I would say to someone, open up your mind and let it come in. Just try some stuff you haven't tried. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Right. But try to listen and appreciate what good is in it and how it might be something that people are drawn to. We were talking about Beyonce and how some people just love to hate her. Right. I was never a person who loved to hate her. I don't hate her at all. And she has an amazing work ethic and she has a great voice and she's grown from no to
yes she has
Who Run the World and this Lemonade and I heard her do like this bluegrass kind of rock thing and she did it well. Yeah. She cares about what she does. So you can love to hate all kinds of people. Yeah. But
you do have to care.
Don't miss that they care about what they do, and when they sing, hopefully they move someone or they aim to touch someone and to express something as opposed to how many notes can I sing on this song? And it's like, woo! And that becomes, whoa! And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. Right, yeah. I'm going to throw up or I'm going to run away. Right, yeah. You're not moving nobody, you're not singing to nobody. Right. You're just fighting with somebody on a mic in front of people. Right. It's like, try not to do that. Try to just listen to something that you wouldn't normally and find the good in it and let it touch you somehow. Because somebody did something with the intent of touching somebody. Right.
So you need to.
Musically. Yes.
And on that note, we're going to pause because Charlotte and I have a show to do with Booker T. Jones. And we, after our 4.5-hour sound check, we just going to hope it's going to work out, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to. I still have a couple more questions I want to ask you. Well, we're going to wrap this up and then we're going to come back to it later. Is that okay?
Okay, don't forget I have to make a chicken curry later.
That's okay. You can make sure. We're gonna catch up with Charlotte in her studio, hotel apartment while she's making chicken curry and get to the nitty gritty. I have some nitty gritty questions.
Oh God, we didn't get to the nitty gritty.
We did, but it's a few more. It's more. All of that stuff was about your work, but I want to focus a bit more on you. So we'll be back
Oh,
with part 2.
On me, really.